I think that the grass always looks greener elsewhere. And it comes to the youth agenda. Wherever we are sitting, we think that there's something ahead, something better from where we are. So, okay, when I get into the Senate or the federal or wherever, it will be better than where I am. And I don't think that we have the capacity yet as youth. I am 36. I'm no more. I think that in Ghana, no, but people even call me mama and auntie and all that. And so we don't have the capacity yet because we haven't developed in terms of character, in terms of competence yet. We don't have the drive. When I say drive, it's not shouting and tweeting and talking on social media. No. If I take you, I tell you that when Assistant got to bring me here, it means that people are investing in the things they are passionate about. But the youth of today, we are not. We think that when you just need data and mobile phone to survive. And now we put the Wi-Fi as part of the hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, it's part of it for any youth that, I mean, my need is, I need to have Wi-Fi to survive. But we don't build capacity in that way. We are not competent enough. You look at the sprint, in a second I'll learn, the baton. When they're going, they take 10 people to do that baton. They train the same way, they do everything the same way, because when somebody hands you the baton, you need to do more than the person who gave it to you, because there's something ahead of you. And you don't say that, oh, I started, so I should slow down, or I'm in the middle, so I should relax, or I'm going to just win, so I should. So, like the baton, we need to keep.
So the velocity has to be a bit more. The intentions have to be there.
To be more, because if in 2 years this conference is going to be organized by a younger person or somebody in Madam Nkechi's company, does the person have the drive, the passion, the capacity to bring all of you here in this room?
Okay, drive, passion, capacity, we will come back to more of that. And I also remember that the 3C that was actually imbibed in all of us the earlier part of the day, competence, character, capacity, very, very essential. And I would like to ask you, Ucheche, and I'll come to your module as well, that how can youth understand and align with the vision of Nigeria? And if there is no vision of Nigeria, I will see how can we create one as young people with these 3 C's.
All right. To start with, I do not think the vision of Nigeria is clear. So there is no vision of Nigeria to tap into, right? And how can the youths tap into that? We're not ready. And that's the truth. On Twitter, some of us are not ready. On Twitter, we can bash each other. That's an example. We can bash each other. So we have beggar to Aja, we have some of these tweets that trend. But when someone that is not a Nigerian tries to attack us, there is this silent warriors unite in everyone's mind. Everyone kills the person on Twitter. So we can unite when we want to. We can act when we want to, but we are not ready. And that's probably because the fundamentals are wrong. Let's talk about the 3 C's. Character. I was babysitting a 7-year-old weeks back, and she had an assignment to do. She had an assignment to do. And I think she was more interested in watching her cartoon, and I kept hearing noises, So I knew something was wrong. I said, babe, what's going on? What's wrong with you? She said, can you help me do my assignment? I said, no. She said, I'll give you 20K.
And she's 7.
I've never bribed somebody with 20K before. You would expect that a 7-year-old would say, I'll give you my biscuit. Or I'll give you my 20 naira. I've never bribed anybody with 20K before. I do not know where I picked it up from. I do not know. I I don't know how she knows what twin is. In fact, maybe she thought I didn't believe her. She said, I have it. I can give you if you want. I said, no, I'm not helping you do your assignment. Do your assignment yourself. She said, no one ever believes me. So character is wrong even from fundamentals. Then now let's talk about competence. Yes, allow the youth to be in governance, allow the youth to change vision Nigeria, blah, blah, blah. But what has that youth who is ready to do that shown? Can that person tell us that if we entrust the power in his or her hands, that he can do the things he is saying he can do? What's the person's track record? What's your political CV? What have you done in that space? What have you done in that field? It's not enough to say I'm a youth and because there's the not too young to run.
Which we'll definitely touch on some
exactly.
point.
And then you say, okay, I'm a youth, that if I campaign, people will vote for me, will have the youth behind. What have you done? Can we entrust the power into your hands? So there's no clear vision, to be honest. There's no very clear vision. Everyone is fighting for their piece of the cake. Everyone is fighting for their own personal interest. When we are ready, Nigeria will move.
Right, Faustina, I'm going to come to you in a bit, right? But I'm sorry. Okay.
So I'm sorry, I need to go. Listen, man, we should be careful not to push this total no hope, it's all a mess narrative. Sometimes it's very convenient to say, but we must also try to balance. There are too many young people, too many, who are doing amazing things in this country, including yourself. I'm not sure you'd be sitting here if you were not outstanding. It might not be enough, but the truth is, there is no society that has ever had enough. What happens is that those who have voice decide to use the voice for the voiceless, and so they expand. There is Tarafiona Diotri, there is Abdul Karim Babani, there is Karu Agona, there is Omojuwa, there's the Future Awards, which we started 13 years ago. In 13 years has produced about 3,000 alums, outstanding young people. There are young people. The challenge, which I think we need to realize, is that we keep waiting for a time. And there will never be a time. Exactly. I look back. Our parents always say, oh, Nigeria was great at some point. So I ask you, can you tell me how old were your parents when they said Nigeria was great? You tell me, how old were they?
Probably 30.
Yeah, that is fantastic. How old were their leaders at that time?
27 to 40. 30, yeah.
How old were our parents? 30-something, have you?
Pretty much same.
Their leaders were their age bracket. And they said Nigeria was what? Was good. Because it was easier for someone their age to understand the needs of the time and look at their demography. That's why at the moment, you will find out that when recycled politicians go back and forth, their age mates are most of the time sorted. So there would never be a time for young people.
Okay, we'll find a more appropriate time to go into capacity and a lot of work that needs to be done by youth. But I would come back to something that was said earlier about connecting your data to the issues. Now, we have, and we all unanimously agree that there are almost or about 130 million youths on the average in Nigeria. And the question is, with the swelling population in the country, what is the capacity of the Nigerian youth in building the desired society which we all crave for? And maybe I could turn to Mrs. Modupe for that, since you run global interns. We're talking capacity now.
All right, thank you. So talking about capacity, I'll start by saying that we have the large population of youths given. But just as one lead speaker said, there is, we have about two different categories. So we have the privileged, and then we have the mass, that is underprivileged or not privileged at all. And if you look at what has also been created in form of facilities to to enable this capacity grow. It is either we have the schools with all of the equipments and facilities with a high tuition, still for the privileged. And it is still this limited privilege. Just like she said, 0.01% who are able to even leave the country. So they go abroad and they come back. Or they go abroad and not come back. And if you look at it, the facilities ought to be amassed for the youths, for the young ones that are actually in the higher percentage. But that is not happening at the moment. And so we have to ask what needs to be done quickly to empower, to educate those underprivileged or not privileged at all. Because really, at the rates we're going right now, there's also even a divide that is creating and is building up with the youths right now. So we have this alternative. So I am out here, I have gone abroad, and I'm back. And that is class, you know? And you look down on the less privileged. My daughter said to me, "Mommy, do you know that I don't really have friends like in the mainland?" And I said, "So why don't you?" She said, "Because really they're not in my social circle." And she said that actually was an activity her friend organized, and it was going to take place in the mainland. And you know, she tweeted about it, and her friends were wondering, so what venue? So if it's not Lekki, and it's not Banana Island, and it's not VI, so what are you going to do down there?
So
and really, that is created. That divide is being created by this same youth. So when she talks about readiness, so really, are they ready? Because really, the mass are still in the need. The mass and the majority are still in the need. And even our institutions are not helping out that. So we're talking about creating or getting them ready for work, for instance. And then we have a lot of institutions. We have corporate organizations here in this country that says, we don't take IT, we don't take students, we don't take this, we take only graduate interns. Graduate interns are about the age 22, 23. At what level, at what stage, at what age do you want to start to nurture? At what stage do you want to start to, create that succession plan? So really, capacity building is for us all here. If we're talking at the youths now, what have we done? Because majority, if you're past 40, then really, you're no longer in that category. And really, how are we helping? How are we going to actualize this? She talked about not ready. I think I'm in line with that.
Faustino, are you in line with the youth not being ready to go on to the next level and seizing the moment? Because like Adebola did mention, you never will have that time. You make the time.
Okay, thank you. While this discussion was ongoing, the first speaker spoke, second speaker spoke. They made their points out, and immediately went to the panel sessions. Something kept putting me in a state of dissonance. And what was it? What do we intend to achieve with the agenda or the activity we're trying to do here today? At a point, there was a message of there was no hope. At another point, there was a message of there is hope. I'd like to challenge my friends, my co-youths in this auditorium today, that for me, I stand in the perspective of the fact that there's hope in Nigeria. Some years ago, I sat in this room, like so many of you students, watching at people who came to deliver speech here. And I was asking, when will the time come when the young people will have the opportunity to make a change in a country like ours today? Mr. Kechari Kalubu, you have done well, man. You're a champion, and you remain my champion. My fellow youths, there's hope in Nigeria. And this hope starts from you and I. From the angle of what Uncle Larry Olushola said, hope, and what Uncle Femi Awoyemi said, that we're on our own. We can actually be on our own and work on the fact that there's hope. Yes, that's it. I'll give us a practical example. 4 years ago, in fact 5 years ago, prior to the 2015 election, when APC was strategizing on how they want to take over governance in Nigeria at the central level, it was a party filled with different old people and all that. But one way or the other, I happened to be doing one study on Irrespective, precisely Adebola Williams 1004. So I met some sets of young guys who just told me, there's a new party coming up, they're working up ICT for the party, it's APC, they want to look at how they can use data to get into governance, get to government, and that they will be in the forefront of it. To be honest, I didn't believe them. I felt reluctant about it. But you people here will not believe that. These guys were part of the guys who handled their ICT behind the scene assignments that were calling people one after the other, looking at demographics.
Doesn't that
hold on, please. Yeah. The point I'm trying to make, somebody said that our votes may not count, that we shouldn't worry about the fact that vote counts and all that. But I want to tell us that our votes and our participation can actually count. It depends on how we position ourselves and how we think about the whole thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And which was the point I was exactly going to make, and you wanted to just chip in something very quickly before I turn to the next question.
Very quickly, I also want us to examine ways that we can actually change,
Absolutely.
what is happening right now. We're not in a completely hopeless society, and I say this to people, we're probably looking at how we can take power the wrong way. Everyone wants to go to the top and just go straight in, right? And I say to my peers, how about we become captains of our own industries first? And then you infiltrate where you want to go to, right? So if I'm an expert in public relations, for example, and I see an arm of the government not doing well, right? Rather than trying to topple all of the forefathers in front, I will find a way to get myself in there to a position that they trust. Because whilst I may be good at consumer PR, for example, I've never been in politics before, right? So I go in there and learn political communication, but with the expertise that I have now, right? That is the way that I believe you can, and that's a strategy that is correct, that's worked for me, right? At the moment, we're about to work with a government agency that everybody has said, they're so bureaucratic, they won't listen to you, but they sought after us because they know that they need help, right? The other approach will be, get everybody off there. We have to go and take power. We have to go and do stuff. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So we need to really become like captains of our industries, right? Where we put ourselves in positions of power, where we're demanded and we're needed. Only then, once we go into that space, we can then start making a real change. Because we talk too much. We talk too much on Twitter, on Instagram. Give the youth, let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's become captains of our industries first.
Right. This morning we also had a very shared vision of the tribe, the youth tribe. Omojuwa, do you think the Nigerian youths are united enough to actually come together collectively to push that agenda called the youth tribe?
I think the only thing that unites us right now is distractions.
Social media.
We are a generation that has been captured by distractions. I'm not going to do Adebola's polling here, but I know a lot of people here do Instagram Explore. So I do that because I know people do it, because the day I tried it, I lost that money. Because I just kept going. It was still very funny stuff. Nigerians are extremely creative. And then of course I use social media to make money, so I can waste my time on it. Because my kind of time wasting is different. Our generation is very, very distracted. Then our country by itself has already been captured by the ruling class. But there is light on the horizon, because if nothing happens at all, at least the reality of Darwinism will happen. In 20 years' time, the Nigerian political landscape will not be what it is today. Now, the youth collective, the youth tribe that you mentioned, only exists in people's minds. It does not exist in reality. Nigerian youth are actually more fractured than the ruling class, and I can explain. It's out there. I, as tiny as I am, I know 7 people personally that are my guys that are running to be president. For me, that's an anomaly. That's an anomaly. Now, over the next 2 months, the main political parties, they are storming at the moment, but eventually they will form, and you begin to see that this one will be the candidate for this one, and that one will be the candidate for that one. The so-called tribe that you mentioned, they will go into that election as tiny crowds. I'm not speaking for specific candidates now, I'm speaking for the collective. And what does that mean? Even when you, first of all, when you start from the beginning, when you put all of their votes together, it's not even going to be as much as invalid votes. But you see, when 2 comes together, it's more than an addition. It's a geometric progression. It's even in the Bible, like when 2 comes, when one chases 1,000, when 2 chases 10,000. Imagine these people coming together. So one thing our political class have also done effectively is that, 1, strategically, they've kept our generation distracted. Then 2, they've ensured that no matter what happens, we are the ones fighting ourselves. So, I'll give you a final example. I supported the current president in 2015 to be president. So people are even smart enough to think that I was the one that made him president. I don't know how that makes sense. Now, yesterday, somebody posted a tweet, my tweet, reposted it on Instagram to say that, was I not the one? So I posted a tweet about the president being responsible for what happened to the Senate president, because I said I didn't think that the IG would have the balls to hold the Senate president like that. Now, when you have people, young people, thinking like, for you to hold your president accountable, you should shut up because you supported the president, I do not see any form of hope for a generation like that. There is hope for the individual, like in the capture generation, that people that are using that capture to advance themselves, to make profits, to create businesses, to create ideas, becoming stars, becoming brand ambassadors. But the collective is captured. And you would know, because the opportunities that would have happened with an aging China. China is aging, so jobs are leaving China. They cannot come to Nigeria despite our population because we are unskilled. Before we talk about politics at all, let's talk about the things that are in our hands. We don't have young people that can take jobs that are in Nigeria that are do not. How can you now take the politics that they are not even going to allow you?
Right. Okay. All right. Adebola, you were a speaker at the 2017 Barack Obama Foundation Summit in Chicago, and one of the fundamental statements you made in wrapping up your conversation was the young people have realized the new kind of power that it wield. Do you think, and this is dovetailing from Uche's point of view, that maybe the youth are not particularly ready, going forward, do you think that the Nigerian youth is truly harnessing its potential, especially with the not too young to run agenda? Is that reality of a fluke?
I think that the opportunities are there. Are we harnessing it? Maybe not to the optimum. But I think we must not forget that there are always 2 sides to a story. And I believe strongly that there will always be the probably 1% who have voice and will be the voice for the voiceless. 13 years ago, we started the Future Awards. Last year, we coined the theme for the Future Awards to be Nigeria's New Tribe. That was the theme for the Future Awards last year. So listen to Ibukun talk about tribe today, and hearing the people talk about tribe. We saw this earlier. We believe that this generation, your currency is talent. The currency for this generation is talent. The currency for this generation is the ability to self-start. The currency for this generation is to see challenges and find opportunities. And many people are doing it. I'm a hopeful, and I try not to allow myself to be taken by a defeatist spirit. So in the midst of all the problems that you see, and face their book to really be masters in their different capacities and potentials, we'll have a better country. I started by saying to you that there is a citizen agenda, which is each and every one of us being responsible and following a path of excellence. If every one of us chose to toe a path of excellence, it will roll over into government. Government does not fall from the sky. The people in government are from you and I. Now, there are 1.2 billion people on the continent of Africa. There are 722 mobile phones, half of the continent. There are 353 million people on the internet. My friends, the world has never been connected ever like it is now. If you choose to spend your time on Facebook rather than making inventions and creating, if you remember in the Bible, God said, these guys want to build a tower to reach heaven. Let us put a different tongue amongst them, because if they speak in one tongue, there is nothing they cannot achieve. You will be fooling yourself if you continue to attack one another as young people. If we have the opportunity of connectivity, we can use social media to literally turn this country around. There were 73 million people eligible to vote last year. Only 30 million voted. Ask yourself, are you one of the 43 million? I'm sure you know at least 10 people who are in that 43 million. If we got those 10 people to vote for someone who has the 3 C's, competence, capacity, and character. The last election we voted based on character, hoping that capacity and competence will be formed by a team. Now you realize that you need a bit more of all 3 in a single person. And so if young people came together because we are bound by a new technology, we are bound by talent. Listen, when David faced Goliath, how old was he? David had a stone and a sling. Goliath had thousands of men. Our generation, our stone and sling is the internet. And so the earlier we realize the opportunities that lies in our hands, we will always keep waiting. My concept to me, they told me to wait. They said I was too young. They said my time will come. I'm 39. But I'm 39, am I not a president? So it is possible.
It is possible. Not too young.
You're not too young. You just need to realize, finally, that if your presidents were 20-something, let me ask any of you, is there anything the current leaders are doing that you think Ibukun Awosika, anybody in this room, do you think there's anything they're doing? Haven't you seen their governance? Does it look like what you cannot do? Does it look like? If we now want to make it better, we will now say, okay, maybe I need to go to this government school, this policy school, learn this economics, but based on the basic politics they're doing now and governance. And these people are politicians. A politician's goal is to gain power, retain power. Everything else in the middle is a game. So that's why they focus more on building trains rather than building human beings. They focus on building roads, bringing people from China, rather than building a generation of all of us to build our own roads. So our own technology schools do not produce people building our own roads. There is no plan that says in 10 years or in 20 years, lawsuits will build the people who do this. This school will build no plan of such. So listen, the way we are now, at the moment, I think young people can definitely, take part. And for me, it's not about age. It's about competence, capacity, and character.
Which comes to Ronke's point. Yes, we will.
He said something about David having the stone and the sling. I need to add something. He had more than that. David had pedigree. Before you came out, people need to know that it's a marathon. You're not going to wake up one morning and make this change happen. You need to have history. Adebola has a story. It's over time. If Adebola throws his sling next year or in 2023 and becomes maybe a governor, it will not be because of that thing he did in that year or 2 years before. To build that pedigree, David had to kill the animal. He had to spend time out.
But I think it all points very nicely to what Ronke had mentioned about really not just the skill but also developing furthermore your capacity and being prepared adequately, especially if we are ready and serious to take this position of not too young to run. So very quickly, last word from each person as we wrap up. We'll start with you, Mrs. Bodikwe.
All right, I like to say as a form of encouragement, because I am one of those who have empathy for the youths and this generation in particular. that despite all odds, there's still hope. I believe in that. But I like to encourage every institution, every leader of organization, every family head, to lend a hand towards attaining this youth agenda, towards preparing them, creating that capacity, just present the tools. So we have institutions that have policies. Because I know that in organizations we also have different age groups, but as your policy, has it enabled the young ones amongst you, to lend their initiative, to say this is what we think, to also make a change in your organization? Because I think also that the older ones are too fearful to allow the younger ones to try, to achieve. So going forward, in every of that capacity, I believe that the inclusion will start. So it is from the home, as a family head, as a mother and father, from the organizations, as a business owner, change policies that allow young people to be mentored, to be tooled, to be tutored, and then also as a government that I don't know what to say about the government at this moment.
Okay, we'll just move on to Afia very quickly. Afia, you're from Ghana, and as you wrap up with your last words, do you think it's important to also have a succession plan, including youths in the area of governance, in corporate structure, or even in the public sectors?
I truly believe that we do. The word is access, and I throw the challenge to the older people here. You need to give access and opportunities. You cannot criticize or say anything about the youth if you haven't given the opportunities. I talk about opportunity because my current job, when I was going, in fact this is my first actual PR job. All that I've done in my past 10, 12 years is media, branded content, television. One thing they said to me, they said, you don't have direct PR experience. I just come from graduate school with a master's degree in communication. But he said something to me, he said, but I'll give you the opportunity. I went to the interview and I blew it. I had the opportunity. Through the work I'm doing there, now I've had interest in health PR. I've seen that there's not a niche in Ghana for health communication. I've created my own social enterprise called Preventive Health Solutions that I'm running myself. Now, the same organization started paying for me to come to APRA. And through APRA, Mrs. Nkechi saw me. The leadership in APRA said, oh, come and be a panelist. I was there like this. Mrs. Nkechi saw me, I'm here today. My next opportunity might come from here. It's all, you see the chain that I'm talking about. If you cannot continue to say the youth are not doing anything if you do not give them the opportunity. So I throw the challenge to everybody here. If you're getting interns, you're getting national service people, don't just send them to buy Wachi and Willie. I say those are career advancing things, yes. Don't send them to drive your children, to take them to the park. Give them something that they can write on their CVs. So opportunity is what I'm
fantastic. And I think Adebola would possibly say to you that the opportunities are always there for probably you to take it.
You see, it goes beyond just opening the door for somebody. It goes beyond that. If you say, oh, come in, if you don't engage the person, if you don't give the person anything, it's a waste of time.
Okay, let's engage with Adebola right now as we wrap up.
I would say that competence, capacity, and character has no age tied to it.
That's true.
Be you 70, 50, 30, for any position, you can upskill yourself to be able to lead an organization or public sector. Someone said earlier, don't compare Singapore with Nigeria because it's a smaller country with 5 tribes. I say to them, no. Economic management has nothing to do with population. If not, other smaller nations like Singapore would have the same Singapore story. Economic development has has to do with population, and that's what India and China are leveraging on. It's such a disgrace that we are 180 million and Nigerians are not all over the world in mass. Beyond the 1, 2, 3 we hear, changing the world. We have the numbers. Now finally, you have to be selfish in upskilling yourself for competence, capacity, and character. You have to be selfish in working for nation for the greater good. You have until we begin to be selfish about Nigeria. Until you begin to know that if Nigeria does not work, you are failing. Our mentality and action towards the country will not change. I used to say before, Nigeria has done nothing for me. And then one day I realized that, but I wouldn't be anywhere else but Nigeria. Nigeria gave me so many problems. And I started solving the one in my space. And I became a leader at something. Nigeria has given every one of us the myriad of problems. You have to get up and solve those problems. We need to stop being consumers. When God created the world, he said, go be fruitful and multiply. He didn't tell you to come here and consume. He said, watch over and protect. You know that when you fail to do what you should do, you have failed to protect the fish of the sea, because that's why there's oil spillage that kills the fish of the sea. It is so simple. And so my final charge to all of you today is that you must realize that for government, the people there are just contractors. You hire them and you fire them with your PVC. The moment you keep thinking that they are lords over you and keep defeating yourself, they will continue to use your resources. The resources don't exist without you. You are Nigeria. You own it. You have contracted them to supply you governance. If you fail in the highest office of the land, which is the office of the citizen, if you fail as the president of that office to demand and hold them accountable while they are in office, to pressure them to do what they should do, and then if they haven't done well, you fail to be, and they are part of those 43 million who will not get their car to hire and fire, then you are the problem of Nigeria. Stop calling anybody's name.
So
stop pointing to
the time is now.
Stop pointing to Omojuwa. Stop pointing to me. Stop pointing to anybody. All of us. You have a voice just like I have a voice. You've got to get up. You've got to realize that the 10 people in your neighborhood, the 20 people who are godfathers. Godfathers are people with influence. There are people in your area who look up to you. 50 people, 20 people, 100 people. Gather them. If you gather 100, if 100 people gather 100 people, what is that? If a million, if you gather another 100, what is that? What are you talking about? Okay. You are feeling. You need to get to a point where you begin to play monster with your money. Until then, you're not ready. When you begin to go door to door for free, to canvass for who you believe in. The current man that you say some people put in power had 10 million votes consistently for 12 years. He was on a journey for 12 years. That's what Omojuwa was saying when he talked about David. When he was killing the bear and the lion, that gave him the credibility to face Goliath. 12 years. So
collectively, we all must be on this journey together.
Must rise in the office of the citizen.
Thank you.
As members of Nigeria's new tribe.
Thank you very much, Adebola. Thank you. I'll come to Faustino for your last word as we wrap up.
Okay. I still stand on the position of hope. I'm going to make an analogy here. A few weeks ago, the former MD of Guinness, Ade Adefeko, he was asked that what was the greatest challenge as the managing director of Guinness. He said, my greatest challenge was that when I came on board, I realized that people are getting worried about drinking liquor. Because when they drink, especially when they drink liquor, their stomach gets big. I'm sure some of us are familiar with a post on social media recently where you see 3 clergymen with a protruding stomach. And he said, in output of it, that how can he make the best out of this situation so that he does not lose the profits that his organization was making at that moment. He said, just let us create the origin brand. We'll blend it to make sure the protruding stomach incident does not arise. And that was what he did. Now, what's the import of what I just said now to this situation? We can actually make the best out of this situation. My brother just said now that our PVC is our power. Like they said, a man who can read, who does not read, is the same with a man who cannot read, or who does not know how to read at all. We can set agenda in the political space by our political participation. That's my solution.
Uche, do you think it's your last word, resetting the agenda?
Yeah, in resetting the agenda, we have to understand that we need to start from somewhere, right? So start from school, start from your office, start from your weekly meetings that you have. If you have any contributions to make to go to business, make those contributions. Now, I cannot guarantee that people will take your ideas and act on it, but then you're training yourself to speak, you're training yourself to think, you're training yourself to be included and to engage. So don't wait to become the president, don't wait to become the governor. I mean, if you do, beautiful. But start from where you are, start to make the little change you can make. You can even start from the family. What if you try to change the fundamentals, change the thinking of people around you? So start from somewhere, no matter how small it is. Grow your experience and grow your potentials, and then you have the power to change what you want to change.
From potential to reality, thank you very much, and be that change you want to be, Omojuwa.
Personally, I'm not as interested in the next election as I am in the next generation. And secondly, I speak for myself, you should pick your own ideas from mine if you like. I do not want to wake up at the age of 50 and the only thing I can do is tweet and talk. I want to have at least two forms of power. Either I have so much power, those in government know that if I say something, I have enough movement, power, agency to change them. Or I can call Adebola and say, Mr. Man, is your hair still correct? And he will know that this is not just a friend, this is someone that can actually change his reality. Do you understand? And then finally for me,
he just had to use your
politician. It's just an example.
But from potential to reality, remember?
It's also a prophecy, right? And then finally for me, I think too many times we are looking for somebody that will let us do it. I would rather start and then see who will stop me. We need to understand that it's within you as a person. And this is not motivational speaking. I speak for myself. I speak from a point where I didn't have a dream because there was nothing to dream. I was in a public school, and every step of the way my dreams constantly changed. So it's not a question of who will let us. It's not a question of who is going to give me power. It's a question of who will stop me. And it means I have to start. And it means I have to have an understanding that when I start the race will not finish immediately. It's a marathon. And it means that I have an understanding that in this political landscape, for instance, whether some people like it or not, in 20 years they will be dead. Because Darwin says so. Because that is what it is. So it means we need to have an imagined reality of a future that is not about them. And you need to understand that life doesn't do vacuum. They will replace themselves with other people, or life will replace them with weeds. So you have to do something and make yourself the flower, the beauty of that tomorrow that is coming. But it will not happen by chance. It's by intention, by commitment, by building a pedigree, a story that counts, that will make people to trust you, to say, this is someone we can trust for leadership. And when I say leadership, I speak beyond president or governor. There are many roles to fill, and there are even leadership positions that are not positions at all. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I finally come to you, Ronke, because you are pro, be the leader in your own space. How do you wrap up?
You know, it's very easy for us, brimming with hope. We know where our next meal's coming from. We know that, there's a roof over our heads when we get home. A lot of people don't. And we need to be realistic. A lot of people don't. So it's easier to champion a certain agenda when you're comfortable, right? And this is why I implore people. But maybe up until 5 years ago, I did not feel like it was up to me to change Nigeria. I mean, I didn't grow up here. But what Adebola just said as well, right? Nigeria has given me so much. So who am I not to class myself as Nigeria? I'm only sitting on this panel because of what Nigeria has given me. I'm sitting on this panel because, just like you, I met Mrs. NECCIPr at APRA, who gave me an opportunity. At the same APRA, YBO gave us an opportunity to speak. So there are people who are given opportunities. And I know that I do not want my children in the Nigeria that we have now. So what do? I start building public relations by training people, right? So that when they leave university, they are ready. Because Nigeria does not have an internship culture. So rather than leave people, for themselves, I know that it is my job to make sure that those guys who are currently studying PR, who don't know, they're going to graduate. and then there are no jobs. And everybody is shouting, there are no jobs in Nigeria. But what did you do to help them? So we all have, you know, a national agenda. You cannot be Nigerian and not have an agenda. It will be selfish to do. So this is why I keep going. Be the change that you want to see in others. And I love a good political story. Gosh, I love one of those. But we need to be realistic in what we say, and we really need to look inwards. We need to look inward.
I'm sorry, I'm very sorry. Just 60 seconds. I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. You know, I was born, you know, we were very wealthy when I was born. At 5, we lost everything. We lost we moved from Kellogg's to NASCO to Gary, and we moved to bread and milk with sugar, later to bread and water with no milk, just bread with water and sugar.
So it was back to the basics.
I've been through it. You know, so while, you know, totally your case, right? I just need everyone here whose location at the moment doesn't look too great, doesn't look like they can achieve, doesn't make them aspire, that your location does not determine your destination. It's just all about your disposition. That there will be, so when you analyze the transportation, you know, you got to just sit as a face. I've been through the work, I was trying to be an actor in my life, I've walked to audition. When I didn't have money, you know what I would do? Let me tell you, I would work for my siblings, I would wash their clothes, I'll cook for them so they can give me money. So there is always something in your hand. There is,
and it's all that process of preparing yourself. Anyway, we need to wrap up now. And the reason why a lot of us have come back home is because we believe that we have so much we can offer this country and be a part of making it what we want to be. Remember, if there's one thing you must take away from all of this conversation, from the first panel, even on this panel, is if you are not on the table, you are on the menu. Thank you very much for joining us in this conversation.
Can we just hold it for group pictures? Yes, group pictures.
It's